When the SX4 was launched, Maruti Suzuki proclaimed that men are back. So what if you wanted to buy an older man second-hand? Rohan Joshi tells you exactly what you need to know.
Now, the car I'm driving today is the one that everybody should have hated. I mean, Maruti took away the Baleno, a car that enthusiasts loved, to give us this, the SX4. But in typical Maruti fashion, they went on to sell about, well, 1 billion of them. But is it still a good bet second-hand? Only one way to find out. And there's good reason not to hate the SX4, because it's not exactly short on grunt. Now, the SX4 comes with a 1.6-litre engine that does about 102 horsepower and about 145 Newton meters of torque. That's pretty much standard on a car of this size. The only thing I don't like about the engine is the way it sounds. Men are back, screams the ad for the SX4, but the engine just sounds like a boy hitting puberty. So what sort of sounds do you really need to look out for if you're buying one of these used? Well, start the engine and listen to it from the outside. If you hear a squeaking sound like a rat dying, then well, you've got a timing belt that needs changing. Or a real rat stuck up front, which is actually dying. Though given that this is a Suzuki, the engine shouldn't be a huge problem. And even with a few years on the clock, you should be looking at a combined mileage of just over 12 kilometers per litre. Another thing you definitely want to do is, while stationary, put the window down and shift the gears around a bit. Listen for any sort of sounds from the undercarriage. If you hear what sounds like two pieces of metal trying to, well, mate with each other, then you've got a problem with the gearbox. In that case, walk away, for the simple reason that the SX4 isn't even that old. If it's already got gear problems, the guy's clearly been driving it really badly. Now, the SX4 has fantastic ground clearance, best in class even. So the undercarriage will tell you how its previous owner treated it. Check for any sort of scrapes or bumps you can find on the underside. There shouldn't be any given how good the ground clearance is. If there are, that means the previous owner clearly put the car through hell. So if you find any, deal's off. Spares for the SX4 aren't exactly cheap, but they're not too expensive either. Replacing a front bumper will cost you 2,500 rupees, while a rear bumper will set you back by 2,000 rupees. Each headlamp costs 3,100 rupees and a tail lamp costs 1,700 rupees. Each wing mirror will cost you 1,420 rupees. Now, depending on how long it's been used, a second-hand SX4 should cost you somewhere between 5 and 6 lakh rupees. So if you want to move up to the 3-box world without paying full price, then this, sir, is the perfect car for you.
With the Xenon, Tata have attempted to make the anti-nano, a giant pickup with a fair bit of flair. But the question is, have they succeeded? Kailash Menon finds out.
It's a car. It's a truck. No, wait, it's both. It's the Tata Xenon, the latest pickup from the Tata stable.
Have we met before? I mean, your face looks very familiar. Now, that's a pretty old pickup line. But when I look at the Tata Xenon, I can't help but say the same, because the face is a direct lift from the Sumo Grande. The chassis is a fully modified Tata TL. Now, under the hood, it's the same old story again, because it's got the same 2.2-litre Safari's diesel engine. Now, if this car were a woman, you'd go and say, you know what, I know where I last met you, at the plastic surgeons.
It might be made up of bits of other cars, but the end result is an absolute hulk.
So here's the thing, this car is bigger than the German giants. I mean, it's longer than the Audi Q7, it's wider than the BMW X5. So you get a lot of bragging rights. I mean, you can boast to your friends saying that, you know what, my car is longer than your car. My car is wider than your car. My car is a Tata.
But this giant has got some glitches too.
Now look at those scrawny 16-inch tires. They just spoil the fun of the vehicle. I mean, the car looks like one of the guys at your gym who's got a mountain-like upper body and stands on toothpick legs. I mean, I would have really appreciated if Tata would have thrown in wider, meatier, chunkier off-road tires.
Though the test car didn't have a four-wheel drive, but still, it did fairly well.
But what if your wife has had enough of mountains and jungles and she wants to go mall hopping? Will the Xenon survive the urban grind? Let's find out.
On the road, the Xenon's a bit out of its depth.
Now, the gearbox feels like as if it's made out of rubber and the drive is a lot sluggish. You have to coax her all the way up to 2,700 RPM mark to enjoy all the 320 Newton meters of torque it has to offer. Now, looks can be deceptive. Though it's powered by the same 2.2-litre 140 bhp Safari engine, the Xenon is a lot quicker. It's a lot more agile than the Safari. Now, if you're wondering what's the reason behind that, well, the answer is smart power-to-weight ratio. The Xenon is a good 300 kilos lighter than the Safari.
Yes, it's light, but it rides the best when it's fully loaded.
That's true, the ride does get a bit bouncy, all thanks to the rear leaf spring suspensions. Now, while on the move, you'll constantly feel an urge to dump something in the tail bed to even out the weight and improve the ride. Well, if you got a neighbor who's got a 200-pound Saint Bernard like mine, just pay him some money, lend the dog, and drive him around.
But Tata has failed to load the Xenon up with some safety tech.
No airbags, no ABS, so if you brake hard, the wheels will lock up and you'll skid out of control. And your Saint Bernard sitting pretty in the tailbed would fly off and go meet Saint Peter. Now, what I'm trying to say is Tata is making cars like the Nano, which is going around meeting NCAP crash test. And this is a full-blown pickup SUV, which doesn't even get basic safety features, not even as optional. Come on, Mr. Tata, safety needs to go beyond just seat belts.
So how much does this car cost?
Well, at 8.5 lakh rupees, it's not exactly a practical buy, at least not for your daily rat runs. You can't go to a party and hop out of this in your Armanis, unless you're Jay-Z or something. Bottom line, this car is a weekend warrior. You want to eat the mountains? Take the Xenon. You want to have the Sunday brunch with your CEO? Take a cab.